Week 0 is upon us in college football, so there's no time like the present to get you another preseason list. This one's different, though, coming from the fine folks over at 247Sports, the True Freshmen Preseason All-Americans. Of course, we just showed you Bryce Underwood. You're looking at Dakorien more, and a little bit of love for Elijah Griffin as well. They headlined the list of a lot of guys who might be able to make an immediate impact with their team. Start on the offensive side of the board, and of course, we mentioned Bryce Underwood, Dakorien more. I personally am hoping for a great and big year from Dallas Wilson over with my Gators, but the offensive line, following the likes of maybe Jordan Seaton of how good he was last year, that's the offense side of things. Over to the defensive side, and we mentioned Elijah Griffin, the defensive lineman, holding things down for Georgia, but you have guys representing all over the country, from Alabama to Indiana. My Gators once again with Jaden Woods, tons of players, and of course, producer Tully wants me to mention Devin Sanchez because of his Buckeyes, and of course, they did win the Natty. Let's further this conversation and bring in Chris Hummer, who has the full article and breakdown up on 247sports.com, so make sure you go check that out. We get to welcome him in now, and Chris, you did this list, and we start with probably the biggest star, likely Bryce Underwood. He's a QB, maybe not fully named the starter yet, but just how good do you think he will be this year?
Well, I mean, first, it'd be a shock if he wasn't the starting quarterback for Michigan. All indications have pointed to that for a while now, not just really the fall, like going back to the spring. Like, he is somebody that's earned that every day. And people around that program speak extremely highly of what Bryce Underwood can be this season for Michigan. I mean, people forget how young he is. I think he just turned 18 this week. Like, my colleague Andrew Ivins pointed him out to me earlier today. He can't rent a car, at least at the cheap price, for 7 more years. Like, this is a really young dude, but he's ready for it. I mean, this is somebody who played a lot of ball in Michigan in high school, was an ultra successful player. He showed some really freakish athletic ability since arriving on campus. He's impressed his coaches with his daily work ethic, and I think this is a guy in Bryce Underwood Michigan can build its future around. Like, I don't know how fast of a start it's going to get off to. I think Michigan has some questions to answer at places like receiver, but I think Bryce Underwood's going to be really good for them this season. Yeah, of course, Michigan hoping that he can do well for them in the games when Sharon Moore will not be coaching in the season for the Wolverines. We will get to figure out sooner than later how good he can be. I want to stick with offense, and this time go over to Oregon. Look at Dakorien more. Last year, it was Jeremiah Smith. Of course, he was as advertised and was very good. Can Dakorien Moore live up to that, or is that too much of a expectation seeing what we saw last year from Jeremiah Smith? Well, Jeremiah Smith might have been the #1 overall pick had he gone in the NFL draft this past year. Like, that's a high bar to clear. But I think if anybody's going to have a Jeremiah Smith-like impact at receiver this year, it is Dakorien Moore. This is somebody who was a absolute freak show in high school for Duncanville out there in Texas, was ultra productive, almost 3,000 yards his junior and senior year combined against the best competition in the country, at least in my opinion, in high school football. And he's impressed from day one for Oregon. I think he got the first 2 targets in Oregon's spring game. That speaks to how they feel about him in that program. And given Evan Stewart's injury, some of the uncertainty Oregon has at receiver this year, I think Dakorien Moore is somebody they're going to count on to be a highly productive player early and often. So speaking of production, that's, I think, what we expect when you see a list like this, the True Freshmen All-Americans. You figure they're going to get a good opportunity to play and to play often. Bringing us over to defense, which Georgia typically is very stout on that side of the ball, and they have a lot of dudes on that defensive line and a history of having dudes, and maybe Elijah Griffin is the next one, highly rated coming in. What should Bulldogs and why should they be excited for him? Well, you mentioned history. Like, he is actually the highest rated defensive lineman to ever sign with Georgia under Kirby Smart, which is insane when you think about the way the Bulldogs have recruited under Kirby Smart's direction. It's just 5-star after 5-star after 5-star. And Elijah Griffin is the guy, like, that ranks higher than all of them on the defensive line. I think he's somebody that's walked in day one from Georgia and really impressed the coaching staff. He's 6'4", 310 pounds, can penetrate inside, hold up in the run game. People in that program rave about him. He's been rotating with the first team at times during fall camp. I fully expect him to be part of that D-line rotation for Georgia, and it would surprise me, like, if he wasn't a highly impactful player in year one. Like, Georgia uses a lot of DTs. They don't have a lot of proven DTs at the position outside of Christian Miller. that's a group that could use some juice, and I think Elijah Griffin's going to provide plenty of it.
When it's all said and done, this group of true freshmen, how do you think they will look after having a year of play when we look back a year from now? Okay, this class was what compared as we get ready for the next crop of true freshmen?
I think it has the potential to be a really impressive class. I mean, we could have 4 Power 4 quarterbacks start this year as true freshmen. We haven't seen that much production from the true freshman group from day one in a long time. Like, we have some excellent receivers. I mean, you look back at last season, like, what would that year have been without Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith and Dylan Stewart and Colin Simmons? And I think on this list, there are some players that have the potential to have that type of impact on the season. There are always a couple true freshmen who flash and impact the national title race. And I really do think some of those guys are on this list.
And that's always what makes it fun when you see a true freshman pop up, maybe one that you're not even expecting to be a contributor, and then out of nowhere they start to do just that. Chris Hummer, appreciate it as always. Hop over to 247 Sports to see his list of the full entire true freshman preseason All-Americans with a breakdown as well. Speaking of breaking things down, that's what happens over at 247 Sports. Pick your team, get that wall-to-wall coverage, find out about how things are shaking in the transfer portal as well, and of course recruiting rankings always live on over there.